Dragons are huge, scaly creatures with long and slender limbs, bat-like wings, and rows of spikes running from head to the back to their tail. You've probably killed hundreds of them in the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, but did you know that there was a time when dragons ruled over that region? Let me tell you what happened to them back then, but first, a quick note on dragons. They come from a continent east of Tamriel called Akavir. They were forced to leave their homeland because of serpent-like vampires that tried to hunt them down. By nature, dragons strive for total domination. In their mind, being right is the same as being strong, so their disputes often lead to aggression, even towards themselves. From a human perspective, the so-called disputes look like a deadly duel in the skies, in which two or more powerful creatures use magic to kill their opponent. Speaking of killing, dragons are theoretically immortal. Although their physical body may die, their soul is so strongly connected to the remains that dragons are capable of rebirth. In order to actually destroy the dragon, it's necessary to devour his soul, and only other dragons or dragonborns can do such things. When Isgramor and his first men arrived in Skyrim, they brought with them a particular set of beliefs. You see, ancient Nords worshipped animal deities, and the most powerful of those animals was a dragon. A very convenient situation for flying beasts that didn't have the chance to dominate another breed since their departure from Akavir. Dragons quickly established their position among men and were worshipped as god kings. However, they couldn't be bothered by human problems, so they appointed several followers, later known as dragon priests, to rule on their behalf. In order to facilitate government and keep the common people in check, the dragons passed some of their magic to these priests in the form of masks that were capable of bending reality. From that moment on, the priests ruled over their fellow tribesmen just like kings in divine service. We can read more about their rule in the book called The Dragon War. In Atmora, when Isgramor and his people came from, the dragon priests demanded tribute and set down laws and codes of living that kept peace between dragons and men. In Tamriel, they were not nearly as benevolent. It is unclear if it was due to an ambitious dragon priest, or a particular dragon, or a series of weak kings. Whatever the cause, the dragon priests began to rule with an iron fist, making virtual slaves of the rest of the population. Where the law became too harsh, revolts took place, and the response was immediate and very, very brutal. If the rebels didn't fall at the hands of fanatical followers led by priests, dragons would intervene by burning and devouring thousands of lives. People in the early stages of their civilization were powerless. Strangely, the salvation came from the dragons. Some of them rebelled against their brothers and joined the oppressed Nords. Many priests claim that this was the intervention of Akatosh himself, who ordered his children to take the right path. It was Parturnax, Alduin's younger brother, who turned the tide of war. Seeing Alduin proclaim himself as a god, the devourer of the worlds, Parturnax decided to intervene. He taught people to use Tuum, which gave them an incredible advantage. The war continued for a long time. Finally, the priests were overthrown and many dragons were killed. At the highest peak of Skyrim, called the Throne of the World, brave heroes used the power of the Elder Scroll to banish Alduin. It didn't work quite as they planned, as Alduin would return one day to wreak destruction again. But the war ended. These dragons who managed to survive fled south to other lands of Tamriel or hid on mountain peaks and caves, away from any people. The dragon cult survived and tried to adapt to the new situation. However, the cultists were hunted down and exterminated. Their last known fortress fell in the year 140 of the First Age. When it comes to the dragon priests, they've become undead necromancers. Locked in their crypts, they raised undead servants to guard ancient tombs. Only a dragon or dragonborn could bring an end to their rule.